I like this hike because we are deep, deep, deep in the forest. Watching the world burn, watching the world burn. March 24th, 2025. Let's get into it. I highly encourage you to listen to my song, Go Grifters Go. And that's the theme of today's video, because I'm telling you, the whole damn world has been grifting off of the US taxpayers. It's unbelievable, the stuff that we keep finding out. I mean, my God. I think it was Tom Burgess. Is that the guy? He's got a real Southern accent, pretty honest guy. Appears on CNN every now and then. Anyway, he was doing an interview with Stephen Gardner, and they were talking about, you know, the grift. And the most disturbing story for me, and this is why I can't stand Democrats, was Biden gave all of our anti-aircraft supplies to Ukraine. I knew that we were giving them a hell of a lot of Patriots and everything. And then remember, they were trying to get Europe to give up their Patriots, and they did to a certain extent. But it was the grift that came out of it that was the horrible part. Okay, because immediately Congress went in. You know, obviously we can't do without air defense. I mean, think about it. Suppose, remember those drones that were flying over New Jersey, which we found out later was just the Biden administration? I don't know what they were doing with them. I can't remember. Supposedly they might have been looking for something radioactive, you know, a bomb or whatever. Who knows? But, you know, they just wouldn't tell the American people that it was the federal government that was doing it. That's the part that got me. Yeah, I'm sorry, I got off on a tangent there. But anyway, he was talking about the fact that, so Congress, in a panic, or maybe not in a panic, whichever way you want to look at it, they passed immediately a funding resolution. I don't know how many billions of dollars it was to replenish all of that anti-aircraft equipment. So I guess the point of the drones was we left the United States defenseless. Suppose that Iranian ghost ship was for real and was parked off the side. All they'd have to do is fly in a bunch of drones. They could blow up a whole damn city. And we wouldn't have had any defense against it except maybe our air power. You know, unbelievable. Left us completely scalped of air cover in the United States. You know, it's called the Defense Department. Of course, I heard it. The Hetzgrith is going to start calling it the War Department, which is a more appropriate name because we wage war all around the world. We just bombed a bunch of goat herds in Yemen, and I shouldn't laugh about that. We killed some kids and women. I don't know, man. It seems like the American people just shrug it off. We just bomb everybody around the world. Anyway, but what happened was, okay, so they funded this thing. So now you think about it. These defense contract companies are making a ton of money, or getting a ton of money to replenish all of that equipment. And guess who owns the stock in those companies? Republicans and Democrats in Congress. So not only do the defense companies make a ton of money, your congressmen are double dipping with your tax money, getting that money. Unbelievable. That was the first story. And then the other one was, he was pointing out, he brought to Blinken, you remember Anthony Blinken, or Lincoln Blinken, or whatever you want to call him? That guy, man, he was corrupt as you know, the world is long, or whatever that saying is. He pointed out we were giving the Taliban, and I want to say it was either $40 million or $60 million. And that we should stop doing that. And the way they had to trace it, it goes to one company, you know, it's money laundering. It goes to one company, and then to another company, and then another company. And Burgess had tracked the whole damn thing down, or somebody did. And he was pointing out, he says, we need to cut this payment off. And Blinken looked at me and just said, that's just chump change. Well, I don't know about you. $60 million seems like, but this is the attitude of the Democrats in Congress. Okay, they think that, you know, the money is theirs, and $60 million, just chump change, man. That's just a drop in the bucket. Well, it is actually just a drop in the bucket, but, you know, a lot of, if think about filling up a football stadium. Okay, if you take a drop of water and you double it, and then double that, and double that, and double that. I can't remember, but it's how long it takes, but it's like less than a day that entire football stadium would be completely full of water. So anyway, got to start somewhere. What was the other grift that he talked about? I don't know, maybe I'll think of it in a minute. But there was here's another grift for you. So this is a video on X that Elon, he always reposts somebody's good post. And this is a guy talking about how corrupt our university system is. And the way the scam works is that, if there's a private body that decides which universities get the federal tax money from the education department in an indirect route. I'll let the video speak for itself. But what he was saying was, the way we improve our universities is to have competition. Well, we can't have competition because the universities control, or this body controls what universities get the money. So if a new university is starting up, they can't start up because they're not going to get any funding. I mean, that's the grift. Let's just watch the video. It'll explain everything a lot better than I can.
The universities are funded by four primary sources of federal funding. The big one is the federal student loan program, which is, in the many trillions of dollars at this point and only spiraling, way faster than inflation. That's number one. Number two is federal research funding, which is also very large. And you probably know that when a scientist at a university gets a research grant, the university rakes as much as 70% of the money for central uses.
Yeah.
Number three is tax exemption at the operating level, which is based on the idea that these are nonprofit institutions as opposed to, let's say, political institutions. And then number four is tax exemptions at the endowment level, which is the financial buffer that these places have. Anybody who's been close to a university budget will basically see that what would happen if you withdrew those sources of federal taxpayer money, and then for the state schools, the state money, they all instantly go bankrupt. And then you could rebuild. Because the problem right now, like the folks at University of Austin are mounting a very valiant effort, and I hope that they succeed, and I'm cheering for them. But the problem is you're now inserting. Suppose you and I want to start a new university, and we want to hire all the free thinking professors, and we want to have the place that fixes all this. Practically speaking, we can't do it because we can't get access to that money. I'll give you the most direct reason we can't get access to that money. We can't get access to federal student funding. Do you know how universities are accredited for the purpose of getting access to federal student funding, federal student loans? They're accredited by the government, but not directly, indirectly. They're not accredited by the Department of Education. Instead, what happens is the Department of Education accredits accreditation bureaus that are nonprofits that do the accreditation. Guess what the composition of the accreditation bureaus is? The existing universities. They are in complete control. The incumbents are in complete control as to who gets access to federal student loan money. Guess how enthusiastic they are about accrediting a new university. Right. And so we have a government-funded and supported cartel that has gone, it's just obvious now, it's just gone sideways in basically any possible way it could go sideways, including, literally, as you know, students getting beaten up on campus for being, of the wrong religion. It's just, they're just wrong in every possible way at this point. And it's all in the federal taxpayer back. And there is no way, my opinion, there is no way to fix these things without replacing them. And there's no way to replace them without letting them fail. And by the way, it's like everything else in life. In a sense, this is the most obvious conclusion of all time, which is what happens in the business world when a company does a bad job is they go bankrupt and another company takes its place, right? And that's how you get progress. And of course, below that is what happens is this is the process of evolution, right? Why does anything ever get better? It's because things are tested and tried, and then the things that are good survive. And so these places have cut themselves off. They've been allowed to cut themselves off from evolution at the institutional level and evolution at the individual level, as shown by the just widespread abuse of tenure. And so we've just stalled out. We built an ossified system, an ossified, centralized, corrupt system. We're surprised by the results. They are not fixable in their current form.
All right, so there was that video, and then Hexgrith. At least Pete is looking at things in the defense budget. Maybe Doge is helping him out. But anyway, he's talking about another grift that he's putting a stop to. And like I said, these are just millions of dollars. These aren't billions. But, like I said, a drop, double that drop, keep it going. But like Hexgrith, he describes it. Because being an IT person, I can tell you right now, you give me $1 million, I guarantee you I could come up with a software product that would make a ton of money. you know, that's enough to fund me for the rest of my life to make a product. And I was a good programmer and a good administrator. And I could definitely use it to rewrite my book and bust it up into multiple books. Anyway, but this was in the the hundreds of millions of dollars. Let's watch that video now.
We're back with another quick update on our efforts to cut wasteful spending and cut it quickly at the Department of Defense, so we get the dollars to the things that the warfighters need. So today, I'm signing a memo directing the termination of over $580 million in DoD contracts and grants that do not match the priorities of this president or this department. In other words, they are not a good use of taxpayer dollars. Ultimately, that's who funds us. We owe you transparency and making sure we're using it well. So here's quickly what we're canceling today. There's an HR software effort that was supposed to take a year and cost $36 million, but instead it's taken 8 years and is currently $280 million over budget, not delivering what it was supposed to. So that's 780% over budget. We're not doing that anymore. Number two, another batch of DoD grants, $360 million worth this time. Decarbonizing emissions from Navy ships, part of the Obama-Biden green agenda, that's $6 million. $5.2 million on something that would diversify and engage the Navy by engaging underrepresented BIPOC students and scholars. Another $9 million at a university to approach equitable AI and machine learning models. I need lethal machine learning models, not equitable machine learning models. And number three, in our ongoing effort to cut wasteful spending on external consulting services, $30 million in contracts with Gartner and McKinsey. It's IT, purchasing, unused licenses. So when you add it all up, $580 million in DoD contracts and grants, DOGE is helping us cut today. What does that bring our total number up? Total cuts, running total, $800 million in wasteful spending canceled over the first few weeks as DoD partners with DOGE here to make sure that our warfighters have what they need by cutting the waste, fraud, and abuse. They're working hard. We're working hard with them. We appreciate the work that they're doing, and we have a lot more coming, so stay tuned. So might as well not waste any more time right now. Just sign this thing. How about that? So this makes it official. We're going to keep going for you guys.
Now that was insane. That was insane. So then we've got this post. I'm going to read it to you here in a minute by about Hillary Clinton and how she was grifting. I mean, we knew she was a huge grifter, but this goes into the details of she was living in luxury hotels in France and just wasting U.S. taxpayer money. Boy, I tell you, Laura Loomer's been all over that. Hunter Biden, evidently, he's still getting money from the federal government. I can't remember what it was for. I might have the post in my bookmarks, and we'll get into that. And then I think I got a third video, but let's wait and we'll do a stand-up portion of the video here in just a minute. If I think of what the other grift was, I'll get that before we do a stand-up version of reading the latest X post. Oh yeah, I remembered what the other one was that Tom Burgess talked about was the education department and USAID. You know, we can't do away with the education department unless Congress, that takes a bill from Congress because they were the ones that put it in place. So, but USAID, that's executive branch by executive order. And, you know, you've seen executive orders can be overturned, you know, whenever they want. And that's why Trump was able to kind of, well, you know, these rogue judges are trying to block him, but no, he has the complete authority to get rid of USAID. But the next president, especially if it's a Democrat, will just put USAID back in place. That's the way presidents do. They can overturn each other's executive orders. You know, think about what Biden did when he came in. He overturned everything that Trump had done, opened up the border, flew in 20 million illegal aliens or 30 million or however many it was. And you know what? A lot of people are pointing out that there were no judges not even Republican judges that were, let's say right-leaning judges that objected to anything that Biden did. They didn't object to the vaccine mandate. They didn't object to him bringing illegal aliens into the country. And now on the opposite extreme, you've got the judges are objecting to everything that Trump's trying to do. These left-wing lunatics. Anyway, sorry, I got off on a tangent. But anyway, he's put forward a bill that will take U.S. aid, and if Congress approves it, getting rid of U.S. aid, if they approved it, that would be a permanent, and no judge can overturn that, because that would be a congressional bill that passed Congress, and that way we could get rid of U.S. aid altogether. Well, no Democrat's going to vote for that, but the Republicans could. And he said, nope, because the Republicans grift off of that too. And he said that bill will probably never get passed. I just thought that was interesting, and I respect the fact that at least he put forward the bill to show who's going to vote for it and against it. It probably just won't even come up for a vote. But that would be a way that we could codify some of these executive orders that Trump is doing. If we could get these RINOs, if you have a RINO for a congressman, start sending them, start harassing them, man. When I say harass, I mean send them emails and say, look, we want some of these executive orders written into law, because if they write them into law, they're permanent, right? So just saying, I wanted to get that in there because that was the other one that I was thinking of. All right, let's get into the reading portion of the video. Before I read this, because this is on the Middle East, I just heard on the radio that Israel, they blew up another hospital in southern Gaza. So I imagine they killed everybody in that hospital, and then the latest civilian deaths that I've heard, it was 400 the other day, but from somebody else quoted that it's up to 500. So the genocide in Gaza is continuing along in good pace, but Israel, if this is true, this is from DD Geopolitics, they're going to bite off more than they can chew. And I'm not sure I'm not sure we're going to go to war with Turkey. And I'm not even, I'm praying we don't bomb Iran, because they'll blow up the Saudi oil fields, and they'll hit our bases. I mean, I don't know if Trump is being well informed. I would imagine Tulsi Gabbard is explaining the situation to him. Speaking of Tulsi, we haven't heard much from her for a while. I mean, she used to make videos. I guess I'm sure her job is keeping her very, very busy. But you see Heskrith out there. And we really haven't heard anything from Dan Bongino for a while. Anyway, so just noting things. By the way, I checked. Somebody tell me. I thought Bongino would just continue his show with another, like a radio show. When Rush Limbaugh died, somebody took his time slot. So I just figured Dan would put somebody else on his show. But when I looked on Rumble, it wasn't in my followings. So is it gone completely? I guess maybe he just shut it down. And I mean, he'll be able to start it right back up after, he's done with his work in the FBI. So breaking, Syria in advanced talks to transfer territory to Turkey near Palmyra. The Syrian government is reportedly in advanced negotiations with Turkey to hand over control of areas near Palmyra. I don't have no clue where that is in Syria, to the Turkish military. In response, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has called an emergency meeting telling the press that a direct Israeli-Turkish confrontation in Syria is almost certain. Well, right now, the Israeli ground forces are tied up in Gaza. So that's an empty threat, in my opinion, but who knows? Maybe he's dumb enough to do that. This is the Hillary Clinton post, and this is going to infuriate you. But I just wanted to read this. And Democrats are all for this. You have a Democrat neighbor, they are all for this, okay? I keep saying that in all my videos. Hillary Clinton's lavish $40K taxpayer-funded French getaway exposed, you won't believe what she's up to now. On February 23rd, 2024, the State Department shelled out a jaw-dropping $16,759 of your taxpayer dollars to put Hillary Clinton up in a swanky 5-star Modran hotel. Why? For a so-called discreet visit to the World Impact Summit in Bordeaux, France, where she pushed climate change talking points likely to funnel more cash into the Clinton Foundation's coffers. But that's not all. They also dropped $22,570 on rental cars for the same dates because apparently a quick Uber wasn't good enough. That's nearly $40,000 in one trip. That's more than I make in an entire year. Unbelievable. These outrageous spending sprees on the taxpayer dime have got to stop. And here's a kicker. This isn't a one-off. Spain, London, Portugal, and who knows where else, Hillary's racking up a global tab, and we're the ones footing the bill. Enough is enough. And this was Milla Joy. And Trump, man, why are you paying for Hillary Clinton? I mean, I assume, it's not community noted, so I just, if I'm assuming that's true. This was this is Milla Joy again. And just to tell you the sacrifice of patriots that we have, Dan Bongino's salary was an estimated $4.9 million in 2024. His new salary will be $221,000. Pete Hesker's salary was estimated at $2.3 million in 2024. His new salary will be $256,000. Sean Duffy made an estimated $1 million last year. His new salary will be $253,000. Elon Musk and Donald Trump's salaries were zero. They will remain zero. They aren't in it for the money. They are in for the love of country, pure patriots. And I thought that was very good. So there are good people in the world. I know it's tough to believe, that not everybody's a grifter. So here we go. But this was an interesting. Holy crap! Joe Biden was paying off his blackmail bribes by sending USAID money. The $1 billion Joe Biden sent to Ukraine after getting the prosecutor who was investigating Burisma fired. It was a USAID grant. I think we all know that. Mike Pence, remember when Joe Biden was at the Council on Foreign Relations and bragged that he got the top prosecutor in Ukraine fired by the Ukrainian government? Everybody, I think, has seen that video because he explicitly conditioned the firing of the prosecutor investigating Burisma. He expressly conditioned the receipt of the $1 billion on the U.S. financial assistance of firing Victor Shokin, the prosecutor. You know, what $1 billion in fines, it was a USAID grant. And anyway, I think we all know that. I'm not going to even play this video, but I just did want to remind you that, that the same thing that Trump got impeached for, Joe Biden actually did. And this is a good post. We'll get this one and wrap up the video. Well, we'll get probably some more video on the way back because I'm at the halfway point of the hike today. Stephen Miller is spot on. Think about the 8-year battle against every obstacle thrown in President Trump's path so that he could put his hand on the Bible and step back into the White House. Compare that to appointing a district court judge, one of hundreds. The idea that a single district court judge can, on any day and issue, claim the powers of the president is legitimately insane. So, we need Congress to step up to the plate, but, they're not going to do it. Those grifters are not going to do anything. But let's watch this video right now.
Right now, under the current intolerable system, a single district court judge can pick an issue, can pick a cabinet secretary, and declare him or herself to be in charge of that issue and that cabinet secretary for an indefinite period of time. And so think about the work that goes into electing a president. Think about the 8-year battle, Will, before the entire nation that led to Donald Trump taking the oath of office in January of 2025. Think about the 8 years of strife, of debate, of struggle against every single obstacle thrown in President Trump's path so he could put his hand on that Bible and step back into the White House. Compare that to appointing a district court judge, one of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. The idea that a single district court judge can, on any day and any issue, claim the powers of the president on core matters of executive branch policy is legitimately insane. How anyone could defend it is beyond imagination.
Okay. So that was a pretty good video. Let's see. Oh, here's Carrie Lake. This is another grift. we gotta watch this video. This is insane. Because I remember watching this video. Must see, America. How do you feel about leasing a fancy Washington, D.C. high-rise for $250 million? That's exactly what the last administration did at the U.S. Agency for Global Media, which, Carrie Lake, if you didn't know, she's taken over that agency and that includes Voice of America. I can't think of a more appropriate person. If you remember, I mean, she was a TV reporter for God knows how many years before she got into politics, and she never intended to get into politics. She just knew how corrupt Arizona was. Anyway, Kari Lake exposes waste and corruption, and we'll root it out. Let's watch that video.
Hi, America. I'm here in Washington, D.C. as Senior Advisor at United States Agency for Global Media. I'm working on behalf of you and President Trump and his administration, and I have been on the job for a couple of weeks now, and I'm horrified by some of the things I'm learning about this agency. I'm sitting here on the 13th floor of a shiny, brand new, beautiful skyscraper building that is costing you, the taxpayer, a fortune. The Biden administration folks who were running this agency before, right before they left office, signed a brand new lease for this building, a 15-year lease that's going to cost the taxpayer nearly $250 million. Here's the kicker. They already have a building that they're located in that is paid off, that they could have renovated or updated, but they chose instead to get us into a lease that's costing the taxpayer a fortune. I know that every one of you out there is working hard and parting with your tax dollars. You're expecting it to be used wisely, not misused and mismanaged. And I can tell you that this building is a colossal waste of money. Take a look at what's in this building. Fancy conference rooms with wall-to-wall windows. There's 26 conference rooms, at least, that's what I've counted, in this building. There are 4 bridges to nowhere, massive waterfalls, Italian marble finishes everywhere, leather furnishings, all of this being paid for by the American taxpayer. And it's not the only thing we've seen. We are seeing grants where they've taken the grants and they've changed the contracts just days before we got in here to make it less transparent for us to find out where the money's going and what's happening with these grantees. It was an obvious sign that they wanted to keep us from finding out anything that we could possibly go in and change and make better for the American taxpayer. I want you to know I'm hard at work here in Washington, D.C. I'm working to make sure that we are not being bilked out of our hard-earned dollars. And we're going to make sure we're doing everything we can to cancel contracts that can be canceled, save money, downsize, and make sure there's no misuse of your dollars.
All right, that's it for today's video. Unless I get something on the way back. Peace out. Stay free. Oh yeah, I just think of these things on my way back. This was an interesting one. Marjorie Taylor Greene has put a bill on the floor, or she's requested, I'm not sure, the FDA, that they take the COVID vaccine off of the child vaccination list. So hopefully that'll happen. And if you have a Democrat neighbor, be sure to tell them to take all their kids in to get the vaccine once it's not required. That's important. And then, the next story was Shifty Shift. And anyway, there's a video by Stephen Miller, and I tell you what, he is all over the news, man. Well, he's definitely on Fox all the time, and he is one sharp speaker. Well, you'll get to see the video here in just a minute. But you know, when you think back on all that, I mean, I was thinking about Democrats. Oh, you say, oh, that's all you ever talk about. But look at who they vote for, man. You know, if you don't know that Schiff is probably the most corrupt person, well, that I know in Congress anyway. I mean, the Biden administration made him look like a golden child. But I mean, anyway, and then of course you know Nancy Pelosi's corrupt as hell, but they keep voting them back in. And then I was thinking on the way here, because everybody's talking about Chuck Schumer and how he betrayed the Democrats and voted for the continuing resolution. But you know what? I was thinking, man, doesn't he look like Frankenstein? I mean, all these Democrats are really ugly, but the Republican women are good looking as hell, aren't they? I mean, think it. And then of course Trump's press secretary, she's hot. It just seems like the Republicans are attractive and the Democrats are ugly. But anyway, Chuck Schumer looks like Frankenstein, man. I mean, it's crazy. Anyway, but before I get off on a tangent, let's listen to that video by Stephen Miller on Shifty Shift.
Adam Schiff is not only a stone cold, hopeless loser, but he is one of the most corrupt, one of the most shameful, one of the most heinous individuals ever to serve in public office in America. And everything he's devoted his life to has been debunked, discredited, and discarded. He literally represents the face of failure. His sole achievement in life was fighting a losing war against Donald Trump, and now President Trump is in the White House, and Adam Schiff is the leader of a dying and dethroned movement. This is, I mean, it really is amazing. Think about what the Democrat Party is fighting against.
Okay, so that was the video. And, you know, another thing that bothers me is, you know, couldn't we get defamation from, I mean, because Rachel Maddow went with the Russia hooks on every episode for like a year or two. You know, we got Trump, we're going to get Trump. He's a Russian collaborator and all that, you know, and then the second hoax she did, and isn't that defamation? And then who the hell listens to Rachel Maddow? I mean, she's ugly too, man. I mean, holy moly. I look at Rachel Maddow and it's like somebody dragging their fingernails down a chalkboard. It would be like watching The View. You know, I mean, which, I don't know. I mean, Greg Gutfeld has always got The View on. Oh, man, I can't stand it. But there's just so much material that comes out of those women. Who the hell watches The View? I can't believe that. Anyway, the third story that I wanted to correct was the Taliban. And that wasn't a year, by the way. I'm pretty sure they said that that's $60 million a month that were given to the Taliban. Now, I don't know if Trump's cut that off yet or not, but that's what Burgess said. Now, maybe that's been cut off, but that's what was taking place during the Biden administration. And to them, that was just chump change, man. That was just chump change. $60 million a month. Can you imagine what a business could do with $60 million a month, you know, with a startup business of any kind? You know, unbelievable, the amount of grifting that goes on with your taxpayer money. I mean, if we don't bankrupt, I'm going to be absolutely shocked if we don't bankrupt as a nation. You know, I just heard on the radio that the Pope is, he's back in the Vatican. He's out of the hospital. If you didn't follow that, but they were railing about how much support that he got from, you know, like 300 letters a day to get well and flowers and all kinds of stuff. And it's like the people in the Catholic Church. I mean, I don't understand. I mean, the Catholic Church is corrupt to the core, and you can't tell me that the Pope did not know that the Biden administration was using Catholic charities to human traffic women and kids, and, you know, of course, men too, into the country on a huge grift on the U.S. taxpayer, and they made millions, maybe even in the billions of dollars. And don't tell me the Pope didn't know about that. Plus, I mean, his stance, you know, he was, and he, by the way, he came out, and just to tell you that he did know, he came out and said that he was against Trump shutting down the border. He felt we should have open borders. So why are the Catholics supporting a corrupt institution like that? I didn't understand that. I have one other tidbit for you, and this kind of blew my mind. You know, because, you know, a lot of times I go in and I'll click on somebody's account because I want to see if they've got a post that I'm looking for. And X will tell you, you know, this person follows you or this person follows you back. And I have noticed that some big names are following me. You know, it's like, no way, this person's following me. You know, I remember back on Parler because Sidney Powell started following me. And she does follow me on, I shouldn't say that, but she follows me on X. Anyway, she's out of the limelight anyway. But I was like, I'll be damned. That's pretty cool. But the thing that bothered me was then I go over to Truth Social, because sometimes I just go in there just to see what, you know, Trump's latest post was, or, yeah, maybe just look around. It's just not the same as X. I don't like it that much. But I noticed I lost a follower. So I only have, now I post on Truth Social every time I do a video. You know, I've just posted a link to my Rumble, the Burn channel. But I mean, the fact that I only have 6 followers on, I don't know, I guess it doesn't bother me, but it just tells you how Truth Social is just kind of messed up. And it seems like it's just for the big names, you know, and any little fish can't make any traction there. Whereas on X, you know, me being a little fish, I have made some traction. It's just throwing that out. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about was, you know, it's kind of weird because yesterday, or the last video 2 days ago, I was talking about the new category of Democrat, which is masochist. And I was talking about how the Democrats are blowing up Democrat Teslas because they were huge supporters of Tesla. And then, but then it seems like somebody picks up on that. I don't know if anybody watches my videos or not. And then they came out on the radio and they were talking about the same thing, but they also reported out, and this was a different factoid that I didn't do yesterday, was Democrats own a lot of Tesla stock, even in their 401ks. And for them to tank the Tesla stock, last I heard it might have been cut in half, and then I thought I heard it came back, but who knows? I don't own any Tesla stock, unfortunately. I'm thinking about maybe if it goes down any, you know, if it's still way down, maybe I'll buy some. But anyway, so they're slitting their own throats again, not only by scratching up each other's Tesla cars because Democrats torching other Democrats' cars, they're also slitting their own throats because they own the Tesla stock. Isn't that interesting? But you know, that story, I just put it out 2 days ago, and I swear that's happened to me a bunch of times. I'll put out my video, and then all of a sudden, it seems like people pick up on what I was talking about, and it starts coming out in the what I can't call it the mainstream media, but the new media, you know, the talk radio and stuff. All right, that's it. Oh, I wanted to explain Lisa Murkowski. If you're not familiar, she's a senator out of Alaska. Corrupt, a very corrupt senator. A Democrat, more or less. I mean, she says she's a Republican, but she's a Democrat. And she goes beyond RINO. In fact, she's fighting Doge right now, trying to make sure that the government spending stays in place. And she's teamed up with the Democrats on that. But I did want to explain how she got elected. Now, if you didn't know, a Navy SEAL, a real good dude, ran against her in Alaska, and he won the primary, okay? And, but then what they did was they, with the help of Mitch McConnell. Now, Mitch McConnell, you got to remember back then, he was controlling the purse strings of the Republican Party. He defunded Carrie Lake, didn't give her any money, but he pumped a ton of money into Lisa Murkowski's election. And the first thing that happened was, because a lot of people, they had to write in the name. And so a lot of people couldn't spell Murkowski. I can't either. And so they said that on the ballots, because what they did, well, the first they put in ranked choice voting. Okay, it's a corrupt system of voting that I'm surprised that the Alaskan constituents didn't come up in arms. And so that was a way to get past the loss in the primary. Okay, and then of course she had a ton of money from Mitch McConnell, and then a judge ruled that on the ballots, if they just wrote the word Lisa, that was a vote for Lisa Murkowski. They didn't even have to write the full name. So that tells you how corrupt the system is in Alaska. And just the fact that the turtle, funded it, that tells you, I tell you, that Mitch McConnell, by the way, he's wealthy beyond belief. He's a grifter, a huge grifter. But anyway, at least he's going to be gone. The turtle's going to be gone I think he's getting out in the next election, the midterms. He says he's going to retire. But anyway, so that's, we'll have one less huge RINO, corrupt RINO in Congress once Mitch is gone. But I just wanted to explain that whole Alaskan situation to you and how Murkowski, a corrupt politician, got elected by cheating in Alaska.